I just need to bring your focus to another perspective to using technology when we say we're using this or that in the classroom scenario. Because we all understand that using technology can definitely advance the learning goals. It goes without saying. We all have been using technology at all levels of teaching and learning, even during the COVID, post-COVID, and I think it's become a little less post-COVID, but it should have been continued with the same zest and fervor, I assume, that we started off in COVID times. And to answer your question, I think one must not only ponder on what technology, but I would like you all to focus on why and when it needs to be looked into. Why do you need the technology, and when do you need the technology that we need to kind of, rope into the classroom scenario? So when somebody says, because I've been to so many places, I keep giving sessions, and I sometimes find it a little laughable when the management at schools, they say, oh, we've spent so much money on this thing, this thing, this thing. And to me, when using technology, it doesn't really mean owning a shining new piece of hardware or app, because it has to be something that augments the learning process as a long-term goal. Because if you purchase some kind of a technological intervention and perhaps its proper use is not being made by teachers for whatever the reason might be, maybe because the training wasn't there, maybe it was just to just for the social media hype, maybe it is just to up the ante as far as the race to #1 school is concerned. I mean, there are all kinds. So what I would think is, when you use a technology, it needs to provide support in classroom teaching. Otherwise, there is no sense in using any technology. So when I say that, after 2-3 years of using technological interventions, I think the most important thing is take a feedback from the teachers and ask them whether the kind of technology that they're using, is it kind of serving the purpose for it meant to be? Because they are the ones who are actually, being with the students, they're using this in the classroom in the real scenario. So when deciding on a technological tool, I would say one has to be very discerning whether it can fit into an existing ecosystem, or whether there is, already an existing tool that could get the job done. So it is important we kind of think on that. And one must not forget, when we talk about what technological tool we need to incorporate, the management is spending money. So the returns for the same in terms of learning outcomes have to be very concrete. And what I believe, with all the kind of technological tools in place, and even if somebody wants to try a new one, please run the pilot projects, because that was what we were doing. Run a pilot project to ensure that EdTech tool actually suits your purpose. Because before you actually, spend a lot of money, it needs to be very clear whether it meets the demands of the curriculum that we are trying to impart to the kids, and whether it's supporting the needs of both the teachers and the students. And whenever we are doing all these tools that Sir said, and of course, gamification is a big way. I would say virtual reality is another thing that should be used. I'm all in for that. Blended learning, Sir said. Virtual reality, I would just wish to say one more point, that when we talk about virtual reality, it is something that's very interesting. And though the Google has pulled the plug on their VR apps, we still have some kind of apps that are, useful to run virtual reality. And of course, you need to explore a little. Something that I was reading was Expedition Pro, something that one can possibly think of. And then blended learning, it goes without saying, is an amazing, amazing tool. I think if you really do it in with sincerity, with earnestness, and you know how to go about it, because it's one thing to say you're doing it, another thing to do it in, real context. So if you can do that, then I think it's amazing, because blended learning it's such a flexible, adaptive teaching tool. And you can use this method to teach K-12 classrooms across subjects, and with such varied learning approaches that even the NEP talks about, whether it's independent, independent learning, whether it's a small group learning, whether it's a collaborative learning, and whether it's a classroom teaching, hybrid teaching, online teaching. You can use so much flexibility in this kind of approach. So definitely blended learning is a big yes. And we also personally felt that blended learning, it kind of coordinates the learning process across subjects. And there is so much that we can give to the students because of this. It's a fun method. It's a good playway method, and it can give teachers enough time to give instructional, whatever instruction they need to give to meet the learning objectives and save a lot of time. So yes, and one more thing in case somebody doesn't know, I'm not sure, because I just came across, I'd like to share one very good technological tool that is very fun and interesting and kids would love it, is Moat. So it's a Google extension and for audio comments. So anytime you want to give them an assignment in Google Classroom, give an audio comment, they'd love it, because, writing a comment and giving an audio comment makes a world of a difference. They can play it again and again and tell their parents and show it to the relatives, and it kind of encourages them to do better than what they're doing. So this is one tool that can play in Google Classrooms. It can play in Google Slides, Google Docs. You can even send it in the Gmail, and it's real fun. One click and all that. That's what it's to be. It's to be there. So I'm all for technology, but it has to be used for the purpose that it is meant to be, not to just kind of highlight it in the social media.